What did you find was the role of the speech and language therapist in this situation?
As a junior member of the team, it was very much, for me, it was the communication side of things. So it was just looking along with the rest of the team to see if there was any reaction to anything you could replicate in terms of a reaction, whether it was through sound or vision or voice or even smell. I wasn't allowed to do the taste because I don't think I'd done my dysphagia training at that point. But the other members of the team would then. So there was this kind of still a two-pronged attack for speech therapy. Looking at the communication aspects as well as looking at the swallowing, the eating and drinking side of things. So I suppose there was very much a defined role for us. This particular patient didn't have a trachea, but then somebody who came in later on, she had a trachea, so of course there was all kind of stuff around kind of tracheostomy kind of care and the speech therapist's role with the weaning from the tracheostomy along with the rest of the team. So there was, through time I could see what my role was, but I think sometimes it's having to take a step back and look at the very basics of communication. You're looking, I found myself looking very much at the non-verbals. You're looking at the reactions of people, and the reaction isn't often as somebody who is communicating as we would think of communication. It's more about a reaction as opposed to communication, and then can you then move on from that reaction and make it communicative? That's not a very good explanation. So, for example, we did some cause and effect work with this particular resident using a switch. So using just a button that was linked up to either a CD player or a lamp. So the idea was if we could get this young man to hit the switch, hit the button, then the music would start, and he'd hit the button again and the music would stop. Would he notice that? He couldn't move his hand to make the button work, but if we could facilitate that movement, could he make some connection between hitting the button and then making that CD player sound his favourite music? Or even, we also used to play him music that he hated to see whether that again would get a reaction. So it's just, and then unfortunately it didn't work. He didn't have any movement that he could use sort of purposefully, sort of intentionally. But if he had been able to do that, then we may have been able to move that on to eventually some kind of a communication system. So it was kind of understanding as a speech therapist that although actually it wasn't communicative at that time of him turning the button on and off, working with the occupational therapist and the physiotherapist, we could look at that task, and then maybe if that worked in that task, we could then move it on and make it communicative at some point in the future.